Ciao and welcome! I'm Giulia and today's class is really exciting. Are you ready? Let's dive in. Today's topic is super important and we're talking about how to clean blemishes and tidy up objects in Photoshop. Why is this super important? Because this will allow you to not having to worry if your subject doesn't look super perfect. With these techniques, you can give it a very polished look and make it look super nice, even though maybe you didn't find the best looking fruit, or your chocolate cakes got fingerprints on it, or, anything could happen. By learning these tools, you will have peace of mind and you will know that you can clean up this object in Photoshop despite the fact that it looks maybe a little bit untidy in real life. Because obviously food, sometimes it's not perfect. And you can improve its appearance by using some Photoshop magic techniques here. So we have the clown, you have the raw file, then if you apply the basic Lightroom editing, and then if you apply the local adjustments, so putting on the wig, and the final look is Photoshop. So today I'm going to show you how to take an image like this where there's plenty of wrong things going on here. There were candles that left holes in the cake, and the chocolate ganache on top is not perfectly smooth and it's not even in color. And we're gonna turn this into this. What tools are we going to use? So in order to do something like this, we can use the clone stamp tool, the healing brush tool, and the patch tool. These tools are super useful, not only for cleaning blemishes and stuff, but also to remove distractions, add objects, remove objects, add and remove crumbs, stuff like that. So learning how to use the clone tools, which include the clone stamp, the healing brush, and the patch tool, will make your life so much easier, and it will elevate your food photography. So let's jump into Photoshop so I can show you how to do this. Here we are in Photoshop. So we've got this beautiful picture of a birthday cake, but unfortunately, this is the second shot of the day. So in the first shot, I actually had candles over the cake, as you can see by the holes that the candles left, and the wax. So I had candles on the cake and we shot a beautiful candle lit cake, very happy birthday type thing. And then we thought, why not get a slice out of the cake so that we can show the inside. And my client was like, but what are we gonna do with this? Like, the cake looks crap. And I was like, yeah, it does look crap now, but wait, because I know Photoshop magic. So don't you worry, client, I can fix that. But I think it's great that we want to showcase also the inside of your beautiful cake, and to show that it's a nice chocolate spongy cake. So let's grab a shot of your cake with a slice cut out of it. And the client was like, yeah, awesome. And then when I showed them the final results, they were super surprised because yes, Photoshop magic. So let's have a look at how to achieve that and how to clean up this mess. So the tools that we're using today are all the way on the left-hand side. So we're going to use the healing brush tool, the patch tool, and the clone stamp tool. These three, often I use them in combination and I use a mix of them because they all do a good job at what they do, and used in mix and match, then that's how you can get the best results. I am going to start with the healing brush tool. As you can see from the mini tutorial there, that's exactly what we're going to be doing. So we are going to use the healing brush tool to basically patch up all of these blemishes on the cake. Now, before we do that, we want to create a new layer on top here that we're going to call clean up, or whatever works for you really. I like to call it that, so I know that on this layer all the blemishes are disappearing, so then I can toggle it on and off to just see the progress. Then another thing we want to make sure that all layers up here are selected. And now we're ready to use our tool. So we can adjust the size by pressing the square brackets on our keyboard, or by right-clicking and adjusting the size with the slider here. So we want to make sure that the size is not too big. It's just as big as to cover the whole area, basically. So what happens with this tool? Basically, what you're telling Photoshop to do is, by pressing Option on your keyboard, you activate the little target. And by clicking on the image with the target activated, so while you hold down Option, you click on the picture, and that's basically the area that you want to sample. So Photoshop is going to take pixels from that area, it's going to take the texture from that area, and as you click on the blemish, it's going to apply that area, that sampled area, on the area where you clicked. So we keep doing this until all the blemishes are cleaned up. So I want to zoom in a little bit more so that I can make sure all the details are correct. Then I press J on my keyboard to select the patch tool, and then with Option pressed, hold Option down, click on an area that you want to sample, and then bam, click on the blemish, and ta-da, disappeared. Again, I want to sample that area, and click here, and disappeared. And we keep doing this until all the blemishes are gone. Now, what you want to do is you want to make sure that the area that you sample is close enough to the area that you actually want to clean up. Because look what happens if I sample an area right here, right, where the texture is much more clear, then obviously here is blurred. So can you, and I click there, look what happens. Photoshop is copying this texture over there, which makes it look like, wow, that's weird. So Command or Control Z to go back one step. So make sure that you sample, the area that you sample is close to the blemish that you want to remove. And that's how you are gonna make sure that none of that weird stuff happen. And the opposite is also true. If you sample an area over here, then when you go here, then you can see that there's this blurry dot here, which is not great. So if you want to remove this blemish, for example, then what you need to do is sample an area right here and not back here. And now you can see that it's seamless. You can't really tell where the blemish was. Also, another thing that really helps is adjusting the size of your brush, because obviously if you have to clean like a little tiny area like that, and you use a big ass brush, then you might incur into artifacts. You might see that there's something wrong there. So make sure that you adjust the size of your brush as you go, as well, to give you the best possible results in terms of, you know, you want to make sure that it's not obvious that you've just cleaned the crap out of this cake. For slightly bigger areas like this, I am going to show you another tool, which is the patch tool. So the patch tool does a similar job. So like it's a similar concept, except this time you are going to circle around the area that you want to clean up, and then you're gonna drag that selection over to a clean area, and Photoshop is going to match the texture to the area that you've moved the patch onto. So basically, ta-da, that's what's gonna happen. Now, sometimes what happens with the patch tool is that on wider area, you can actually kind of see where the selection was made, and that's not something that we like, because it's a little bit obvious. So what we want to do here is Command or Control Z to, again, go back. We want to adjust the structure here, and we want to go all the way down to 1. Also, we want to make sure that the content aware patch is selected here, which means that Photoshop is going to act in a smart way, and it's going to obviously be aware of what pixels you want to sample, and this is a much better job. So if you can see the edges around your patch tool, make sure to bring down your structure there. And the patch tool can be used, it's a fairly faster tool than the healing brush. However, again, sometimes it's not the ideal tool. So that's why I said before that it's good to mix these different types of tools, the healing brush, the patch, and the clone stamp, to get the best results based on the kind of blemishes that you need to remove. And I am going to show you now the clone stamp tool, and we're going to use that to clean up this blemish here. And I'll tell you why. If I use the patch tool here, what happens is that it might work actually. Oh, ta-da, mamma mia, Photoshop is brilliant. However, sometimes like this will not work. So in this case, we were quite lucky, and the patch tool would have done a great job at cleaning that, to my surprise as well. Like, wow, the software has really improved so much. But like, for example, the healing brush might not actually work, because you can see here the basically the step between the line is not straight now, and you can tell that. So sometimes when that happens and the patch tool does not do a good job, what you need to do is use the clone stamp tool, and I will show you why. You will, with the clone stamp tool, you will also hold down Option to select the area that you want to take the information from and the pixels, copy the pixels from. Also make sure that all layers are selected here, otherwise it will not work. And then here again, you can see that the line doesn't come out straight. So what you want to do, what the clone stamp tool allows you to do, when you, especially true when you have straight lines, is you can go over to the right hand side here and go to clone source. This is a very useful thing. So here in this angle here in the clone source, you can basically rotate the brush, which means the line that it, like, let's pretend that we put a 10 there, right? Can you see how skewed the line is now on my brush? Let's put in like a 60 there. Ta-da! Can you see how skewed it is now? So what you need to do is adjust that number to make sure that the line direction matches to the line that you're trying to smooth out. And that makes the line go super straight, and you can't really notice any steps there. So that's why the clone stamp tool is super useful sometimes, because you can adjust the inclination of the tool. And again, this is pretty useful when you want to clone out straight lines. And now basically it's just a matter of keep doing this and keep like cloning out all of our imperfections here in the cake, alternate between the healing brush tool, the clone tool, and the patch tool until you're happy with the results and until your cake is completely as clean as you want it, really. For example, that guy there, I find it quite distracting. So I'm gonna use the healing brush tool to just make it disappear. Again, you can use whatever tool you like and use a combination of these. So now I'm going to speed up this process until I'm happy with how the cake looks, and then I will show you the next step. You can use the patch tool to also smooth out stuff like this. For example, this line is a little bit me, so I want to just select around that area and drag it there to make the line look a bit better. Look how magic Photoshop is. Like that was great. Like look at the before and the after. So again, I'm just gonna carry on a little bit longer. I've got some stuff here to clean up, and I've got some stuff here on the cake as well. Don't forget the slice. And then I will show you how we even out this patch of color basically. Okay, so basically now I am pretty happy with the way my cake is looking. I don't have any major blemishes. All I have is basically this patch of uneven color, which is fine. We're gonna fix that in a second. And I also took care of my slice so that it now looks, it does have texture, so which I don't want to remove because that's like a lovely chocolatey texture, but it doesn't have any holes or anything. So to show you the before and after, the cleanup, basically that was the before and after. And look at the top of the cake now. Ta-da! Before and after. So much better, right? So magic. Okay, super. So next step, I am going to create another layer, and I will call this color, so that I know this one is for the blemishes and this one is going to be to even out that color. We are going to use the same tools that we've just used. Now the difference is that we want to use a much bigger sized brush. Why is that? That's because we want to even out the color, which means we want to tell Photoshop to grab all of those pixels in that brush and mix them up, basically. So do an average color of all of those pixels that are included in the size of the brush. So as you can see already, we're blending the colors, basically. We're telling Photoshop to take the colors that are in that area and blend them together so that it's less obvious, that the line between the two colors is a lot less obvious, and that helps us blend the color of the cake together and make it look nice and smooth. Can you see how smooth that is now? It's a lot better. I'm gonna fine tune that in a second. I wanna do the same thing down here. Now there is a big stripe of color there, and we're gonna tell Photoshop to just blend all of that in together by using, there we go, that texture. So already that looks a lot better. Have a look. So big blob of color, much smoother. And now we're gonna zoom in and fine tune these little corners over here so that it doesn't, again, we try and blend it in as much as possible to make it look as smooth as possible and as realistic as possible as well. That's very important. And kind of there we have it. So before and after. As you can see, the cake is all looking smooth. That chocolate glaze is looking fabulous. And we have the before and the after. So by mixing up the healing brush tool, the patch tool, and the clone stamp tool, we were able to clean up the cake and make it look nice and polished and perfect. And this is sometimes required with more commercial work, because obviously no one can sell a cake that looks like that, while they can sell a cake that looks like that for a lot of money. And your job as a photographer is rewarded and paid more for skills like this, obviously. So have fun, experiment with these 3 tools, and you can use them to do so much. So that's all for today. Thanks for watching and see you next time. Ciao!